Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm really happy to be here today. It's one of the incredible events to be here among you, credible leaders, outstanding leaders in Oxford Business School. And honestly, it's my first time for me here in Oxford, but not in UK. Today, we're talking about education, innovation, and impact. We have amazing educators here. And we came today to talk about and give some ideas about it. So I welcome you all to our conversation on what's next in education, innovation, and impact. Today, we're not going to talk about theories. We're going to talk about ideas on real life, real grounds. So let me start by Dr. Yaya. Welcome to our panel. And let me ask you, being one of the very well-known educators, teacher in London, if you could redesign education from the ground up for the next 20 years, what is the one bold shift you would prioritize? Why?
Thank you very much. A very big question and a very good question as well. I'm sure you all cook at home, and if not, my parents cook. Would you ever recommend a dish without salt? I'm sure you wouldn't, unless that's very necessary. So this parable I use to explain what I mean is our education system is based on factory model, mass producing standardized commodities. And it's unfortunately, it's not suitable for our time, because time has changed and our palate has changed as well. To transform it, I would recommend a radical reform. And that reform, from my perspective, is to approach education through a civilizational and cultural approach. Let me give you a bit of background about the current education system that has been shaping our ideas, thoughts, and societies for almost 2 centuries. It emerged out of industrial revolution in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Modern industrial machinery needed disciplined and literate workforce to operate it. As societies were growing modernized, the state also needed mass education so the citizen could cope with social changes and demands. Having said that, from the very start, this education system was designed to produce workers, not necessarily culturally and civilizationally literate citizens. And we are still product of this system. Let me give a specific example. The civilizational and cultural approach to education that I'm suggesting, it teaches our students, for example, about Islam. And Islam is just an example. It could be any other culture or civilization or religion. For example, to teach students about Muslim philosophers, scientists, sociologists, mathematicians, geographers, physicians, metaphysicians, poets, scholars in Gnosis and commerce, literature, and others. So this is the gap. This is the gap that unfortunately has been filled often by populist politicians, social media, politically charged people, and that creates, unfortunately, often cultural tensions. And that's why the education system that I'm talking about has a lot of ingredients in it: curriculum, textbook, teacher education system, schools, universities, but it lacks that cultural and civilizational approach to education. And that's, for me, is the salt of the education. And if I have to do it in a way that you suggested, I would certainly recommend to add this cultural and civilizational approach to education. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yaya. It's a huge ecosystem. And it needs a lot of hard work from all educators and leaders to implement it well. So because it's a very big word, redesign, I would love to ask you, Shanaz, about the innovation and redesigning inside your classroom, especially that you're teaching adults. You're shaping their own future. So it's to you.
Okay, so we got to stop designing education for a world that no longer exists. I mean, we charge students £50,000 upwards for a degree, and then we hand them a certificate to go into a jobs market that doesn't exist because AI is replacing their jobs. We're not innovating. We're not redesigning education for the world that we live in today. We need to help students become more visible online, help them create a digital presence. That is called real innovation, because a student who's struggling with debt, who can't pay the university fees, who's skipping meals to buy textbooks, and then we just hand them a certificate to go into the world where there's no jobs for them, that's what we need to redesign. So I propose a redesign, a system where it helps students and young people, adults and everyone alike, be visible to online entities. In a world where AI agents are making hiring decisions and deciding who's going to fill in that job role, we need to make sure that everybody has online presence, because if they don't, they're invisible. So definitely we need to create a future where we can use these tools to our advantage instead of becoming extinct.
Thank you so much. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Over to you, Prasad. Welcome to our panel. Happy to have you. So if we're serious about innovation in education, what outdated systems or assumptions must we be willing to let go of, and what resistance should we expect when we do?
The outdated systems are the traditional ones. The system that we should adopt is actually the one that we're sitting in today. This LOSD system that we are in today, it's almost like, I'm a big fan of the cartoon, The X-Men. And in the X-Men, the professor goes out and specifically withdraws certain students based upon their powers and their instinct. And that's what we need to do with our students. We need to capitalize off of their instinct, not just putting them in a chair in school and going through the motions. So I would implement the system that we're actually using here. I mean, he even says, Asif even says so himself, we need a new style of curriculum. Things are changing. AI is changing. And the way that AI is, it's not like it's asking our permission to exist. It's giving you an opportunity to be involved in it. And in order to be involved in it in a stable manner, we have to be able to locate what our power is. What is it that we are good at, so that we don't get out here accumulating achievements and accolades and even degrees that don't have anything to do with the very essence of us. So going forward, that is what I would say would need to be the change. I would want it to look like the X-Men.
Absolutely. I love that one. Thank you so much.
I really love that.
Yeah, very.
Thank you, honestly, because I think in society nowadays, with the young ones, the curriculum needs to change so they can learn more about their life skills, their opportunities, and also becoming conscious, being aware, because I feel like it's not in schools enough to teach them. So yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's brilliant. And to know their superpower. To know their superpower. Because we all have a superpower within us, but it's just discovering it. So it's teaching them how to discover the superpower. Yeah.
Perfect, Mel. Thank you so much. Talking about the opportunities, so how do we ensure that innovation doesn't become a privilege, but instead creates more inclusive and equitable learning opportunities for all?
Good question. Innovation becomes, I've wrote some notes because this is quite a big question for myself.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Innovation becomes a privilege only when access is unequal. So if we want to create more inclusive and equitable learning opportunities, we have to design it making sure every learner has access. Because if everyone doesn't have access to tools and creativity, then innovation, we're not going to be able to rely on it. So giving students real agency, letting them be creators, like we said, being creators, not just consumers. So innovation reflects their cultures, their languages, and lived experiences.
Perfect.
Can I also add to that as well?
Yeah.
Yes, so being a teacher for so many years, one thing I realized is that students need obviously good positive role models in society, which we obviously lack at the moment. But in my opinion, I think real innovation is basically helping students not just get into debt, but help them to cope with their mental health, also help them to build a future where it's sustainable, and finally, make sure that they're visible online to the systems that are in place today that are obviously running everything that we see today. So real innovation is by encompassing those three things. So helping with the mental health, helping them build a sustainable future, and then finally making them visible online.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Actually, without well-being and mental health, they will never be productive, because here we are talking about generations where I always say that these generations in any nation, any country, is the backbone of it. So if we don't give our due care and put all the effort to make sure that we're give them the best out of the best, I think that we're gonna make a big mistake. Yeah, thank you so much. So back to Dr. Yaya, and talking about the challenges and barriers and the gaps that you were talking about earlier. So allow me to ask, what would be the biggest barrier to making that change happen?
Thank you. I think the biggest barriers is either lack of ability to identify the risks and perils that we are facing on a daily basis, or lack of willingness to acknowledge them. Let me give you an example. In this room, we have so many beautiful people with a lot of scholarships, experiences, and with background, a lot of technologies and beautiful stage and university lecture hall. Imagine what would be the situation right now when there will be no light.
Yeah.
Then it will be absolute darkness. So in that darkness, what we will be able to identify how this dark room with everything that is here would serve our purpose. So the point that I'm suggesting is that, to be very specific, advancement in modern technologies have improved life across the globe. But it also put us at risk. The computer, the internet, modern information and communication technology, cheap online entertainment has changed our society beyond the point of return. Today, in a global society, we often see more cultural confrontation than cultural dialogues. We are afraid of engaging in meaningful debate. We are afraid of talking to one another. Our capacity of tolerance and passions have shrunk massively. So the point that I want to make here is that our education system has almost no answer to it, because the system is from the very beginning built to supply and to train skilled workers, and is continuing to do so today. So for that purpose, therefore, I proposed a cultural and civilizational approach to education. What we need is more dialogue. What we need is more debates with each other. And that cultural and civilizational approach to education is that the very ingredient that I referred to as a salt of life, as a salt of education, and it's the very light in the life. So you can have a very beautiful education system with technologies, with everything, but if there is no light, it will serve not its purpose. So therefore, this in the modern world where we have global villages, we have an event in one part of the world affects every person around the world, whether it's politics, whether it's culture, whether it's economy, whether it's war, whether it's misunderstanding and misinformation. As we spend more time online, on computers, we also allow ourselves to be fed with misinformation. And let me conclude by one statement, and that's really, I mean it. We have arrived in post-truth era. Today, with social media, with everything artificial intelligence, artificial and fake products are so difficult to be spotted and to be differentiated from the real one. And these are the perils and the challenges that the only way for me is that, or the best way for me is to ensure that our education system is not just training everything that society and technology economy needs, but also cultural and civilizational approaches, so that people are equipped with having more cultural dialogues with each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really second you because AI became a big challenge if we don't use it in the right way. And this will take me to ask you, Shanaz, how do you practice innovation and creativity in your classroom with this very, very challenging age?
That is a difficult question because AI is changing every week. So at the moment where I teach, I help students obviously build a digital footprint online. So I teach them if they want to be visible to recruiters and universities alike. As you know, universities are already using AI to select candidates, as do in recruitment agencies. So I teach them skills and how to make themselves more visible online and create their own digital footprint. So I'm doing that at the moment. Other ways we can help students innovate is not just being visible online, but knowing how to work with the system. So knowing which correct tools to use in regards to obviously optimizing the content online and obviously helping them with the coursework and exam preparation. So, I mean, at the moment, I've created apps for my students where they can use the apps to help them with the revision. I've created websites, interactive websites, where they can download information to help them with their studies. So there's so many ways that you can help students innovate. And because it's a changing landscape, you have to keep on top of everything. So it is a daunting task, but it is also essential and crucial that all students know how to use these tools.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. If we keep talking about education, innovation, creativity, we need like years and years to talk about it and to set in the right position. So let me close this conversation with a bit tricky question to Priscilla, saying that at the end of the day, what does meaningful impact in education truly look like, and how should we measure it differently moving forward?
Okay, meaningful impact goes beyond academic achievement and technical skill. It really has to dive into inclusivity and integrity. You know, last night I was scrolling on social media and I saw a comedian. He wrote something funny. He said, "Does anybody have dreams without any?" Because he's African American. Anything other than African American dreams? And I'm thinking, okay, so your subconscious is segregated. And so we have to have people who are a thoroughbred with inclusivity, because when we don't, we get people to learn AI, mathematics, and a list and a host of everything that came to the panel tonight, only to get to the top and have that type of subconscious within them that seeps out into the students one way or another.
Yeah.
So back into the X-Men thing, that's why we have to look for these particular people that are thoroughbreds that can be the game changers for that.
Thank you so much for that. And unfortunately, we have to close this, but I want to thank you all. Thank you, the panelists.